everyone. Welcome to this new episode of our Student Spotlight series, where we are able to showcase some of the work our students have been doing. I'm Charlotte, one of the outreach coordinators here at CCIR, and it's our pleasure today to have Yuhong with us, who did our one-on-one mentorship. So, firstly, can you just give an introduction to who you are, so where you're from, what year you are in school, and then what made you seek out CCIR?
Yeah. So my name's Yuhong. I'm from Toronto, Canada. This September I'll be going to my senior year, so grade 12. And what made me look up for CCIR was just trying to get some research experience in high school. Even though it isn't as deep as potentially in university or after that, I think I'd probably enjoy research a lot, considering, I'm very into engineering and like robotics. So I went to look out for these programs.
Okay, nice. And then can you give us a general overview of what your course was about?
Yeah. So I did the one-on-one mentorship program. So, I was really able to choose whatever I wanted to do, topic wise. And, my mentor, he was pretty flexible, on what, I could do. So eventually what we ended up on was something related to sustainable irrigation, and optimizing irrigation, which isn't really like, I guess directly in line with what my mentor was doing or what I'm doing. Like it's not super robotics or like mechanical engineering, but it's still somewhat related. And basically what I did was I was able to compare above surface irrigation and subsurface irrigation at home for Ontario, specifically using crops that are from here and soil that's from here and come up with a bunch of data that eventually proved that subsurface irrigation is better for growth, but it does use a little bit more water.
Interesting. And then can you walk us through kind of how you decided on this topic? Did you have experience with this specific topic in school before, or was this kind of a personal interest of yours, or was it something completely new?
Yeah. So, or this topic, I think me and my mentor, we talked like 3 weeks to come up with it. Because originally I really want to do something like engineering related, like say programming, or build something. But then, he told me that if you want to get your paper published, you ideally want to do something that's novel, something that, somebody else hasn't done before. And that's really hard with programming, considering, I'm just a high school student. I probably won't code better than some industry professionals. So we kind of threw that idea out of the park. And then after thinking a little bit more, I'm personally pretty interested in like environmental sustainability as well. And just before that, at school, I participated in this big data challenge where we looked at irrigation as well. So I kind of thought about doing a hands-on project that took a bit of engineering and programming in the automation and irrigation part of it, but also environmental sustainability. So that's how we came up with that.
Nice. It seems like a nice combination of the two topics. And then you mentioned this a little bit already, but can you walk us through again what your research methods and process were? So it seems like you conducted primary data collection. What was that process like? How did you find your data and do the analysis?
Yeah, so I kind of built like like a rig myself. So I went out and I bought soil, I bought the seeds. My mom, she's a pretty big gardener at home. She was able to help me a little bit with the pots and the planting. And then I went out, bought sensors and bought like chips, and I coded some of it. So I set up this system where basically it was on this cart. There were two batches of plants. One of them was above surface, one was subsurface. And then I made it automated, so it would automatically irrigate whenever the sensors read below a certain threshold. And every day or two, it started out every day, but then as it went on, the difference got smaller and smaller. So I switched every 2 days. I would take measurements, so how much water was used, the size of the leaves, how are the plants looking. I take pictures as well. And then after 40 or 50 days or so, that was when the crop I picked was pretty much mature. I gathered all the data, put into spreadsheets, visualized it, and then worked with my mentor to kind of analyze and think about, why certain trends occur and what we could take out of the data.
Nice. And what tool did you use to visualize the data?
We just threw everything into Google Sheets and then generated graphs from it. Yeah.
Okay, nice. And then so you t touched a bit on your findings again. Is there, or sorry, before, is there anything that you want to touch on now, maybe elaborate on, or something you didn't mention before?
Yeah, I think I could probably go a little bit deeper into the findings. So I did mention like, subsurface, it uses a little bit more water um than above surface. And after a bit of thinking with my mentor, we concluded that it was probably because of the placement of the sensors. Um if you're directly irrigating like straight to the sensor, the water will eventually spread out around the whole pot itself. So the moisture threshold will, or the moisture reading will go down. Whereas if it was above surface, it kind of diffuses across it naturally. That's why I used more water. But the growth increase we saw with subsurface was quite significantly more than above surface. So we concluded that even though it uses a bit more water, it is more efficient if economically feasible.
Nice. And then was that kind of what you were expecting to find, or was there anything surprising, or maybe contradictory to what you thought you would find?
Yeah. To be honest, I didn't think subsurface was gonna use more water. Just because, you'd think like water directly to root zone, it shouldn't evaporate as easily. So that was pretty surprising. But otherwise, yeah, I think it's pretty expected. There has been previous research done like in other parts of the world. I think in Saudi Arabia and in China that showed that subsurface for like certain trees is better or something like that in the desert regions. But none have done here in Ontario, where it's usually a little bit more moist throughout the whole year.
Nice. And then now to shift to just your general experience with CCIR. Firstly, can you tell us what your experience was like in the program doing a high-level research project like this as a high school student?
Yeah. To be honest, it was quite different than I thought it would be. Um, I thought it wouldn't be as challenging, because obviously I had like the guidance of a really talented mentor that has years and years of experience. But he was pretty hands off. He really wanted me to like work through the process by myself and try to figure out all the issues. Um, so I definitely spent like a lot of time throughout those, I think it was like 12 or 14 weeks, working on this project. And throughout it, there were like many, many problems that I had to deal with, and I would consult him and he would help me. Yeah, so I think being able to partner, or be under the guidance of someone incredible like my mentor, Dr. Anwar, is really incredible. And I would highly recommend CCIR. I think it's a great program and it really gives you the freedom to do something you want at an early age.
Yeah, definitely. I think the challenge is kind of twofold. In the one hand, research is very different to a lot of the traditional papers and projects that you would do in the high school class. And then on top of that, we design our courses to be at the year of a first year level university student. So it's kind of challenging in both those ways, that it's challenging in itself, but also, usually a completely new experience for students. Um, and then my second question is about, as I mentioned, this process can be very different from what you've done before. So was the research process and experience different? And if so, how compared to papers or projects you've done in school before?
Yeah, I think the problem solving aspect I've experienced before just because I'm pretty involved in robotics and obviously there's a lot of problems with that. But also our school, they really like to emphasize like building character and as in being like independent. So there's a bunch of projects where you have to like work through a process. But I think what was really different is like the paper writing and the formality of like a research paper. you can't really like skip steps. You have to explain everything, or else it won't really make sense. But like at school, you can kind of breeze over something or not explain it as well. But you still get the marks because it's a school project. So it doesn't require you to be that precise. I think that was the difference.
And then to discuss your relationship with your mentor, can you walk us through how your mentor guided you through the first kind of learning half and then designing the research paper into the more research-oriented second half of the course?
Yeah, I think my mentor, he was pretty straightforward. He has a lot of experience, so I think he knew that, this 10 or so week, 12-week period isn't really much time. So he really wanted me to get started as early as possible. So at the beginning, we email back and forth every week, trying to come up with different ideas. Or I'd come up with ideas and then he'd give me feedback on them. Um, and then when we actually settled on this topic, he really pushed me to get it prepared as early as possible. I think he does a bit of gardening himself. He lives in California, so the weather's pretty good there. And he knows that, this takes a while to grow. It's not like a computer science project or a robotics project where you can kind of work a bit harder and the plant will magically grow faster, right? Um, so I think throughout the whole process, he really pushed me to be as quick as possible, but also, uh, try to not skip any steps and overlook any problems that may occur.
Great. And then a few questions about the outcome of the program. Do you think this course has given you any insights into your future? Has it maybe informed or shaped how you think of your path moving forward? Your path either being maybe university or even your career?
Yeah, yeah. I think through this, I really enjoyed like working with like plants and like um kind of like smart systems related to the environment. So I might look into that for university instead of, like coding, considering, there's AI and all that stuff now. Um, and in the future, I think it really showed me that there's different forms of problem solving that I could be involved in, other than just robotics, which is what I've been doing so far. Um, and I realized that something like research really takes a long time, but it's really rewarding. So I may look into that as a future career as well.
That's nice. And it's a great opportunity to kind of give you a taste of something that maybe you haven't thought about, or even going into it, you came into it with the robotics lens and then being able to explore something different than that is a really great experience. And then my last question for you, what would you say to someone who asked you what the value of doing a project or a program like this is, especially for a high school student?
Uh, I think it's really about like what you want, and like how much effort you put in. Um, it's really a good experience to learn, but it's also a unique experience. Like you'll pretty much not find like an individual research experience in school or pretty much anywhere else. There might be like a few other organizations you might find like a local professor, but it's very different. Like the one-on-one program especially, you're given so much freedom. It really simulates like the real world where nobody's telling you what to do. You kind of have to figure it out yourself from start to finish. So I think that's what you could take away from it. You're really able to learn a lot about what the real world is like, how you interact with other people, and how you use your resources as well. Using your mentor, using CCIR, like having them review your paper, giving you publication suggestions, um, topic suggestions, or any help you need, really. Just being able to use your resources. I think those are the two things.
Yeah, I think that's great feedback. So that brings us to the end of our interview. Thank you so much for chatting to me, and congratulations again on your nomination to our Spotlight series.
Thank you very much for your time.